Good morning, my friends. It is September 9th, 2020. Yeah, that's correct. And today I'm going to speak about vision. We just sang a song together. We've been doing that now on Wednesdays in between the guided meditation and the talk. And I shared a song based on this beautiful Diné or Navajo prayer. In beauty I walk. And the feeling of the prayer itself was really important for me a handful of years ago, and it evolved into a song with music and different verses. But the heart of it is, in beauty I walk, with beauty before me I walk, with beauty behind me I walk, with beauty below me I walk, with beauty above me I walk. And as I started to walk with this prayer, I started to realize have some personal revelations about what in indigenous North American spiritual traditions they call the beauty way. And the beauty way is the way of right relationship with all creatures. And when we look at nature, we see this being played out. And when we look at humans, often we don't. We see us falling short of the beauty way. And I know that for me, it's seeing others fall short of that, or seeing a society fall short of that, or seeing my own family fall short of that, my own friends. For a lot of my life has felt like an excuse or a reason to go. It's not worth it to try the beauty way. It's not worth it to try to walk in respect with every step. It must not be possible to recognize the beauty of this diversity all working harmoniously together. Maybe that beauty isn't actually real. I've spent a lot of my life in great doubt that it's real. But the reason why I work with the wise words and ancient prayers, and why we sing, those of you who are on the line had to, this often happens when we sing, is I can't sing without crying, so the words get all choked up, but that's again like a lot of the point of it. I think that as I was singing this time and getting really choked up, I was feeling a lot of that tension between the beauty of nature that I see and the beauty of an enlightened exchange, the beauty that I see in a human being when they're being kind. I see this beauty all the time, but it is in such stark contrast to something else. And feeling the potency of that, the trust in the beauty, and how much love I get filled with when I remember the beauty, and when I remember that it's before me, it's behind me, even with all my mistakes. It's before me, even with all of my fears about the future. That beauty is next to me, it's below me, it's above me, and it is in me. It is what we are actually made of. And when I can walk in beauty, guess what I can do? The other verses of the song are, you in beauty you walk. Guess what I can do? I can see the beauty in your path, even when you can't. but only if I'm walking in beauty, only if I trust it enough for myself, the reality of it for myself and for this world. Then I can bless somebody else's path. And then I can say in the last verse, we are walking together. And so we do these practices, we do all of these practices, we repeat the prayers, we sing the songs, and most of all, what we do most of all here is meditate. We spend time in the quiet and in the stillness so that we can return to that deep, deep trust, so that we can wash and clear the vision of our eyes and open them again, seeing more clearly, so that we can take away the noise and come back to the truth underneath all the words and plans. And I feel like that anytime that I sing a spiritual song, and those of you who've experienced my yoga playlist know that a spiritual song doesn't have to be doesn't have to be even written with that intention. If it speaks to me and my soul and my spirit. Oh, Pam shared about her experience with the U2 song, but any art, any song, anything that feels like it's speaking to the truth and it's speaking to my heart, when I engage with it, it feels like it cleans my heart. And then all of the excuses not to love fall away. And we see them for what they are: excuses, coping mechanisms, defense mechanisms that we've built around our emotional self to avoid just what came up, right? It's a little vulnerable and awkward to be singing a song and crying, right? But that's that cleansing that we show up for in our spiritual practices, and why I'm always encouraging all of you to discover for yourself, what does that for you? What washes away all that fear and doubt and all the excuses not to see beauty? Before that, we did a vision journey, and I don't guide those very much these days in Nowhere Village. And I can talk more about how to approach those. They're very different than the meditations I usually guide. And so if you felt a little confused in doing it, I totally understand. And I can help you navigate that if you want. And those of you who missed it this morning, there's a recording I'll put up. But what we really did is work that I have been cultivating in myself. Which is really to envision this world of beauty. For me, when I'm in nature, I don't have to come up with it. It's showing itself to me all the time. But we envisioned ourselves in a society, right? We came in from outer space, saw this beautiful planet, and then landed in our home area, but envisioned that the people there were treating the land with respect. That the people there they were walking the beauty way. And we allowed some combination of sort of imagination and intuition and just seeing, inner seeing, to reveal to us. Hopefully everyone got a little something out of it, or something that was an interesting revelation. But being able to do that kind of work, it's creative work, really. It's playful work. And it's the kind of work that we all did so much more when we were children. I remember drawing cities that were underground in the ocean, probably not actually walking the beauty way, because those would probably be really environmentally not sound. But in any case, but again, that doesn't matter, right? And it doesn't matter with your visions that you're coming up with either at first, right? The first step is to let out some of these ideas that we have, some of this inventiveness, this creativity, the imagination, the capacity to envision something that you maybe haven't seen yet. But bringing in starting with looking at the planet Earth and imagining it healthy. Starting with the beauty way, starting with, as we do here, with the ancestors and the guides and the teachers that already have some wisdom to reveal. Starting with my own just deep relationship, deep healing relationship with my guru, the planet Earth. Starting from that can give us a really, I find, the best kind of sounding board that we've got for how we're doing as people, and a good starting place for envisioning a world that we want to live in. How does this relate to meditation? Well, almost everyone who comes to me to want to learn how to meditate and to want to, get more support for a daily spiritual practice, they're all afraid. Everyone has so much anxiety and all sorts of the other challenging emotions that come with this: grief, anger, at seeing the way that our beloved planet is being treated and has been for a long time, at seeing the way other humans are being treated, at seeing false and temporary values take the place of the eternal values: love, truth, right relationship. Seeing instead the values of, as we all know it, personal pleasure, profit, a sense of personal success and celebration, a celebration of ego. And the people who come to show up to meditate do so because of care and love. Care and love that turns into really challenging emotional experiences when we see what we love so dearly being treated so poorly. And we experience those ramifications in our personal lives and rippling throughout everything we see. And so, yes, this has a lot to do with meditation. When we sit to meditate, we are manifesting the beauty way inside. We are manifesting this in ourselves, right? Taking care of taking care of one's own house, our own inner world, recognizing the way that the way that goes against beauty and harmony and love and truth and right relationship, noticing how that has also influenced us. And so much of meditation is seeing that as the untruth, as the lack of love, and letting it go. Getting our own house in order is starting to heal the inner relationship, starting to make sure my internal dialogue isn't a harsh and destructive one, unless that's what I want to see on this planet. That I'm respectful, that I'm tender, that I'm encouraging and empowering to myself the way that I want to see our society doing so for its members, for its youth. That when I'm hurting, when I have hurt inside, that I know how to go and be a medicine woman to myself, be a mother to myself. So this is what we learn through meditation. And then we become somebody who can manifest it out in the world. I said that I would speak a little bit about creative practice this week and play. And I think that those are just so, so important. But I realized that first, I think I need to speak a little bit about desire, which is something that's been coming up somewhat in the founders circle in this last couple of months. And it's just a very interesting topic to bring up as we explore all of this. So I'm going to now turn toward my great guru, Nisargadatta Maharaj, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about what he says about desire and so much more. So I've been saying that I want you to really be in the work of visioning right now, and that in the coming months, we're going to talk about how we're going to manifest this vision. But we want to stay in this sort of creative, playful place first and allow this vision to come forth on its own before we hamper it with all of our realities, which should come into place. But before we get practical, I guess is what I'm saying, we get visionary. And the creative practice, the way that I teach the creative practice is so much about, well, this is how everyone that I know teaches the creative practice, is allowing oneself to get into a state of flow before you become the editor, before you become the one that says, oh, that's not going to sell, right? Or before you become the one that says it doesn't make any sense. That we allow something to flow through us first. And then we can kind of whittle it away or make it practical. Okay. But what we're also talking about when we talk about creativity, and when we talk about visioning, we're talking about, well, we talked about this last week, is like planting seeds and manifesting, making something happen. And I propose that we are doing that already. We've been doing that together. We are manifesting a new world together. Okay, I'm going to turn to the text now. And the student asks, who creates the world? To say that it is universal love may be the nearest we can come to it in words. Just like love, it makes everything real, beautiful, desirable. We could call it the universal mind, which makes and unmakes everything. The supreme, which imparts reality to whatever comes into being. The student asks, why desirable, right? Because he says that whatever makes everything also makes it real, beautiful, and desirable. Why desirable? And then he responds, why not? From where come all the powerful attractions that make all created things respond to each other, that bring people together, if not from the supreme? Shun not desire. See only that it flows into the right channels. Without desire, you are dead. But with low desires, you are a ghost. The student wants to know about the experience that comes nearest to the supreme. And he says, immense peace and boundless love. Realize that whatever is true, noble, and beautiful in this universe, it all comes from you. That you yourself are the source of it. And here's the last thing I'll read from this. The student asks, how does one reach that supreme state? And Maharaj says, by renouncing all lesser desires. As long as you are pleased with the lesser, You cannot have the highest. Whatever pleases you keeps you back until you realize the unsatisfactoriness of everything, its transiency and limitation, and collect your energies into one great longing. Even the first step is not made. On the other hand, the integrity of the desire for the Supreme is by itself a call from the Supreme. Nothing physical or mental can give you freedom. You are free once you understand that your bondage is of your own making, and you cease forging the chains that bind you. And so that, with that text, really brings us around to a lot of what we've been talking about, kind of brings together a lot of what we've been talking about in the last couple of months here in Nowhere Village. That phrase, whatever pleases you keeps you back, really guided me through a lot of my retreat. There's a lot in there, but I want to highlight a couple of things. One is this desire. Desire isn't bad, right? And that in fact, if we channel our desires rightly, that's exactly what the Supreme is asking us to do. And this idea that we've also been talking about last week we talked about just kind of going for it, shooting the moon, being willing to envision something really, really wonderful without getting in the way and saying, well, that can't be possible. And in here he is again talking about going for it. And to hear about to hear a sage talk about desire, I think is really helpful. And what he talks about a lot, and what we talked about last week too, when we brought him in, was how most of the time we're so split up. We've rationed out all of our energy, but if we can gather it, as he says, into one, collect your energies into one great longing. And I think that it's that makes me cry when I sing certain songs in a way. It's like that deep, deep longing to be back in alignment with that reality. And along the way, we feel unsatisfied. Along the way, we feel challenging emotions come up, right? Along the way, we things happen that make us want to stand up and say, that's not the beauty way. But then there's this very interesting thing that's in the song, and it's in this text, and it comes up all the time, that both are true. My path has been perfect so far. And guess what? It was full of mistakes. The mistakes were perfect. That was beauty, right? We've got a lot of problems that have to get resolved here on this planet today. And that's beautiful too. Even that is the Supreme. That is the call of the Supreme, saying, I'm not, that makes us say, I'm not satisfied with this. If we try to understand it here, we'll get tied up in loops. But again, something in the heart knows when we sing the song. Something in the heart knows that both of these things aren't in contrast, that it is already perfect, that the Supreme already is, that our vision has already come true. And we're still doing the work. We're still collecting ourselves and our energies We're still getting to know ourselves. We're still coming to understand the chains that bind us and releasing them one by one. Yes, Sveta loves hearing the approval of desire. She says there's desire with a capital D. Yeah, and for our human existence, desire is the tool and method to get us to the right path. I think we spend so much time denying our desires, right? We have our shoulds, of most of which, many of which we haven't examined or decided that they're really our own. They're like society's shoulds or our parents' shoulds or whatever, something we learned. And we've got our feelings and the things that we kind of want. And then we try to basically take the shoulds and police or trap or, make okay the desiring self. It's like putting it in the corset or something, trying to make it into a shape it ain't, most of the time. And so this process is different. We're getting in touch with those deep desires and letting them come out as a vision. And not worrying too much about anybody else's ideas about what that is. And then we can sit and look at it and see how it stacks up against our values, against the models in our lives. For me, nature and some of my teachers, we can then take that and work with it. But yes, coming from that more intuitive, raw, natural place. And that desire was a gift from the divine, It all was, it all has been. So just in these last couple of minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit about, all I really want to do here now is just deeply encourage you to, even if you're not really resonating with this whole vision thing that we're doing all month, that's okay. But encourage you to play and to be creative, to encourage you to access that part of yourself that knows what it's interested in, what it wants, what brings it kind of joy and energy, and to give yourself space and time this month to activate that part of yourself, to honor that part of yourself. I have all these resources that I created for a previous course, which I've been thinking about how to offer to you guys in a more structured way. But anybody who does want some resources for how to like approach a creative practice, I can send them to you. I was going to kind of go through them. I have them all printed out here, but I can just send them to you. I'll share this stuff more formally at some point, but you may just want to reflect for yourself on the times in your life when your creative energy was most present, when you were, I'll say this, okay? When I've been doing my vision work, I've been thinking about what kind of community I would like to live in, what kind of society I want to live in, kind of world, and what kind of world I want to create for myself. And as I've been doing this, I've been contemplating the times in my life when I've been the happiest, kind of my golden years and golden moments, and investigating what was present at those times. And there's a lot there, but in all of my sort of golden moments where I felt like my life was as perfect as it has been in this lifetime, I have spent a lot of my time just zealously pursuing my own interests and the things that fascinate me, and being able to, as me and my friends would call it, nerd out, to be able to just totally nerd out about a subject, or to be able to just go into a project. Something as simple as learning a new song on the harmonium will like focus me in a way from that internal desire, right? From an internal, there's not we live in a culture where we're all taught to really bow down to external validation and to this external sources that give us that put the pressure on us to do everything. And what I'm finding is that the reality I want to create for myself is one where I'm really, really, really given the space and time to just enjoy what I enjoy. And again, as a kid, that was just really natural. You can look at a kid and they're just like, if they're really interested in something, you can't stop them. They're going to read every single book about dinosaurs or whatever it is, that they can get their hands on. Sure, Seta. Yeah, I'll send them to you. Um, and so for me, when I say I would love for you guys to do creative practice and play this month, that could be like pick a research thing that you always wanted to know about and get in there, right? Because that is play, if that's where your desire is, if that's where your interest is. And know that you have to make a little, just like you do for meditation. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna just find a way. I'll put a little something together for you guys, okay? So that yeah, so you can access these, and then maybe we'll do like a more formal creativity and meditation thing soon. What's really important is, like with our meditation practice, you need to be able to show up into the space and get started and do it, and trust that maybe at first you won't be able to let go, right? We've got to rediscover that child self. But what I find is once we start to get that kind of going and get that energy flowing, and when we learn how to stop policing it and shutting it down the way we have been, that energy, once it comes up, it starts to do so much of the work. It starts to direct us. It starts to just bring us where we need to go. And that feeling of being in flow that we talk about, that feeling of we've all had it, the days where the moments where everything just seems to work, and it's like the universe is working through you rather than you having to kind of like drum it all up. For me, rediscovering what we might call the child self or the playful self, also kind of the fool, the beginner's mind, the one who doesn't know everything yet and is fine with that. Their identity isn't based on knowing everything or being good at things. They're not attached to that. Waking up the part of the self that is that. This is the part of the self that the true vision comes from. This is the part of the self that allows us to be in flow, that allows us to rediscover our innate gifts, that allows us to rediscover what really brings us joy and purpose. And I think for so many of us, especially those that maybe had more creative tendencies when we were younger, I think for so many of us, the shutting down of that part of the self was harsh. And so it might that part of the self might need a little extra love, you know? And I think that for me, part of my story was maybe I'm just lazy. If I want to be an artist, or I want to just do the stuff that I want, and the society tells me that I can't, I'm not supposed to, or that's not going to make me successful. All these new identities started to kind of like come into play as I shut down the creative self. The irony is that the kid who said they're ADD and they're not good enough at school, or they're getting bad grades, right, might be able to come home and work for hours and hours and hours undisturbed, on whatever their little projects are that they love so much. There's nothing wrong with that child. And so for myself, I know that I have felt like maybe there's something wrong with me, right, at times. And learning that when we reawaken that self, you're not lazy at all. you've got focus, you've got passion. It's just really, really hard to manifest authentically, to be with the true self, when there's also the voice of the sort of policing factor yelling in our ear, you know? And we've had to bring in that voice because it's out here in society. So if we didn't bring it in for ourselves, we would just get met really harshly out in this world. But here we are. We're so fortunate, guys. We're so fortunate. As crazy as everything is, we can be here together. We can do this work. We all have the means to sit and meditate. We all have the means to do this contemplation, and we all have the means to reawaken the parts of ourselves that are gonna step up and lead, that are gonna walk us straight toward our vision. We'll take any questions that you have. I hear the request for some a little bit of support as you get your creative practice started, and so I'll make that available, and then we can talk more about that next week, depending on how people are responding to those resources. As always, there's inquiry prompts up right now that have to do with all of this. Those are really just meant to be inspiration, as this is talk, and the real work, of course, happens in your heart, in your mind, in your experience. As always, I would love for people to be sharing about what's coming up for them in Nora Village, and yeah, especially if we get people doing some creative practice, it would be cool to have people post photos of works or videos of their songs or whatever is coming through. Next month, we're going to talk about our mission. And so all of this vision work and all of this creativity and all this awakening of that kind of child self, that beginner self, that free self, that creative and playful self. Waking up that self is going to be really important as we figure out what's my mission. We've all got a different role to play in manifesting the vision, right? And so figuring out what that is for you. And then we'll talk about, November is all about talking about next steps and getting practical, and how we can go out into the world and make it happen. But for now, enjoy that we're in vision. Enjoy that this is a time to really wake up that desire. Honor what you know to be really, really, truly beautiful. Honor what you really love this month. And be willing to say, fuck off when when the police officer shows up, where the like, I don't want to make police officers the bad guy. That's not necessary. But I mean, you know what I mean. To be able to just to say a loving no thank you when you feel that more inhibiting presence telling you that it's a waste of time, or it's not okay, or this is dumb. Give it a chance. All right, I don't see any questions. So I think that's us for this morning. Thank you very much for being with me here today, and always. And my vision is, as you guys know, I'm moving toward my vision in a whole new way. So this environment's going to change. This background for Nora Village is going to change soon, and I'll be talking to you guys more about that in the coming weeks as well, as to where I'm going and how I'm walking toward a new reality myself. All right, much love. Yes, honor beauty. Yeah. All right.